Okay, I think there's two parts to that question. One is Richard Dawkins is a scientist, and the other is Richard Dawkins is an atheist, you know, philosopher, theologian, or whatever it is. Let's start with the scientist. In 1976, Richard Dawkins published The Selfish Gene. And this was if you like, a popular account of what was going on in sociobiology, the evolution of social behavior. And I think everybody, certainly me, said that this is just a brilliant book. It's clearly written, it's interesting, but it also, although it wasn't formal science, it made us think about the issues of, you know, what it means to be a selfish gene. It doesn't mean to say that humans are selfish. It means that everything we're doing, though, has to rebound in some way to our benefit. So, I mean, for instance, you know, you and your husband working together, you give your husband a lot, he gives you things. But ultimately, the point is, you're having children, and although they're his children, they're your children. And you're not going to have children unless you and your husband cooperate. So that's what it means by being a selfish gene. Doesn't mean, I mean, I suspect you may be a very loving wife and give your husband a lot. But ultimately, the name of the game in evolution is reproducing. And by doing all of this, you're reproducing. So your genes are selfish, but it doesn't mean to say that you're selfish. And I think Dawkins explained this to us using metaphors. I mean, obviously, the selfish gene, in a way that no one else had done, and really gave us a sort of an insight into the nature of social behavior and how it works. And so I would say that that is one of the most brilliant books of the, let's say, the last 50 years. And I don't think my opinion is in any sense strange. I think most people, almost everybody, would say, yes, that's absolutely true. So that's that. And of course, Dawkins published some other books, which were interesting, but nothing like as groundbreaking as that one. And then in 2006, Dawkins changed direction a bit and wrote the book about atheism, The God Delusion. And this was a very fiery argument for atheism. Now, he wasn't the only person doing this. There was the philosopher Dan Dennett, and Sam Harris, who was a student but now is a neurobiologist or something else, and also the journalist whose name escapes me at the moment. But anyway, so this book was of course, Dawkins has this brilliant ability to write, and to write clearly, and to write in vivid terms. And this, so in other words, in many respects, Dawkins wasn't saying anything that others hadn't said before. I mean, Bertrand Russell, for instance, when I was growing up, Bertrand Russell was doing this sort of thing. So, but Dawkins sort of rephrased it, like he did the selfish gene. I mean, you could say that Dawkins wasn't the original scientist with the selfish gene, but he made us think about it in perhaps in different ways or clearer ways. And I think most people would say the same about the God delusion. Now, let me put it this way. As far as the science, the selfish gene are concerned, and I don't think I'm alone in this, I think I would say I very much agree with the agenda that Dawkins is doing. And I think you'd find that 90% of evolutionary biologists would say yes. I mean, obviously 50 years later, there's going to be arguments about details and things like that, but that's the nature of argumentation. So as I say, I think we would all say that pretty much the selfish gene was an unqualified success. Now, obviously, Christians and other believers, Muslims, for instance, aren't going to like the message of the God delusion. They're going to say, no, we think there must be something wrong. But what I think is interesting is a number of philosophers and theologians who aren't necessarily Christians or even believers. They may be atheists, or like me, they may be agnostics. And what they want to say is, at serious levels, too often Dawkins trivializes the argument and gets away with things because he doesn't do them sufficiently carefully. For instance, the problem of evil. Now, why do bad things happen to nice people? And I mean, a lot's been written about this. I'm not saying that everything is good, but I think if you're going to argue against the existence of God, then it's up to you to have a look at this and see what people have said, rather than Dawkins is rather given to thinking that because he's had the thought, it must be right.
Yes.
We've all, I mean, I expect your children have been like that, or perhaps your husband. You say, oh my God, no, simply because you think this, it doesn't automatically make it right. I mean, often it's a joke and sometimes it's irritating. Well, I think that's the same with Dawkins. He makes these claims. Now, I think one of the things I think that made Dawkins particularly powerful, and the others, was that at this time, I don't know whether it's the same in your country, but Christianity was, a lot of people were worrying about it, particularly the whole question of Catholic priests and sexual abuse.
Yes.
It was becoming clear at that time that there was a horrendous problem in the Catholic Church with priests doing awful things to little boys. Now, you can understand why. They make them be celibate. They don't allow them to have wives. You're 18 or 19 and you become a priest because it's all idealistic. And then 25, you get to 25 and realize you want to have sex. I mean, it's not abnormal. It's not evil. And of course, these people don't have wives, but they're in positions of power. Everybody respects the oh yes, if you want to take the boys away on a camping trip, that's just, oh, you're the priest, I don't mind you doing it. I'd be worried if it was the plumber or somebody like that. But the fact that the priest is, that. But of course, it turned out that these people, and not just one, but 10% of them were doing this. Well, it was terrible. So it wasn't just that. And then, of course, the other thing which was happening was that in America, you've got these evangelical Protestants, these extreme Protestants who don't believe that they don't believe in evolution, and they're anti-abortion, and they're very much against homosexuality. Just at the time when the country is starting to say there's absolutely no reason why two people who are two men or two women shouldn't live together and have the ties that we're allowed to have. If they want to get married, then it's up to us to allow them. I mean, to say no is religious. Certainly in the West, we don't have a theocratic society. We have a secular society, which particularly says, no, the way that you're going to behave cannot be dictated by the church. And so all these evangelicals, and of course it's happening now still. And so a lot of people were thinking that religion, just organized religion, just isn't a very good thing. And so I think that when Dawkins and the others published these books, there was not just an intellectual receptivity to it, but also a social receptivity. People were sick. People were sick of religion. And if religion means God, then we're sick of God. I think an awful lot that happened. Now, I mean, as I say, one takes it balanced. I mean, I would not consider myself an atheist. It's been a long time since I believed in God or that Jesus Christ was the Son of God. I did when I was a child. But, from about the age of 20, those beliefs went. And I thought at 80, they'd be back again, but they're not. So certainly this is something which happened. But for me, I don't know. It seems to me that the world we live in is so mysterious. And there are so many questions we can't answer. mean,
Yes.
why is there a world at all? Why is there something rather than nothing? I don't know. What is the relationship between the body and the mind? Why is it that a bunch of molecules can think?
Yes.
I mean, we've got we can do a lot of things. We can say, yes, this part of the brain controls speech and that sort of thing. But the ultimate question of what is mind and what is its relationship to body, I think it's a mystery. So my personal feeling is almost, and of course I come from a Quaker background, and Quakers are big into this. So my position is more one of mysticism. I just say it's a mysterious world, and maybe sometime we'll learn about it, but we don't learn about it now. And I'm not even sure we've got the capability to understand it, even if we were told. So, as I say, I'm an agnostic rather than an atheist. And I don't think I'm the only person who finds pushing atheism as a kind of secular religion. I don't know. It's a little bit vulgar. You know, come on. Yes, I don't. But, you know, come on. Don't get up on a board and preach it. You know, that makes you worse than some of the preachers, the Christian preachers. So I'm sure I'm not alone in this. I mean, starting Charles Darwin would have been one. He certainly thought that atheism, it wasn't just that he wasn't an atheist, but he thought that the people were pushing atheism tended to be a little bit vulgar. Yes. It was much more dignified to say, I don't know. I'm not a Christian. I can see all sorts of problems there, but I'm not an atheist because the world is mysterious. I'm an agnostic. And I think somebody like Charles Darwin, and I feel very much like this, I think that this is the humble way. This says, you know, I'm a human being. It's wonderful. And we can learn a lot, but it doesn't follow that we can learn everything. That there may always be mysteries that we don't know. I think that's the way to go. So that's my feeling about Richard Dawkins.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor.
Okay, fine. All right then. Well, maybe in a week or two we can talk again. All right?
Yes.
All
thank you very much.
And thank you. I'm sorry it took so long, but I think my wife has a better idea now of how to do it. Yes. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right then.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
Bye.
Goodbye.